Hello, writers. I'm Josiane Fortin, and today I'm interviewing Emma Burton. So, Emma is the self published author of the book Don't Get Stuck on Your Asana. So, thank you so much, Emma, for being on the show today. And please start off by telling us a little bit about you.
So I am a mum and yogi, and I'm also a fertility coach. And I have been on a path of self-discovery from a very early age. I have run my own yoga studio for about 6 years, but now it's all online since the pandemic. And I have two sons who are 13 and 11, no, 10. And yeah, I live in the countryside in the UK and I do all my work online now, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I was very curious to know a little bit more about the book. Like, what inspired you to write it, and what is it about exactly?
So it is a combination of my coaching and my yoga. And I was kind of getting a little bit frustrated with the yogic world because so many people were training as yogis and then they can do like a very quick 2-week course, they can get certified. And then sometimes those people who've just been trained as a new yoga practitioner, teacher, were being recruited to do the next set of training. So it was kind of becoming like a bit of an industry, and I felt like yoga was losing its soul. And for me, I got into yoga in my 20s when I was just feeling really down, feeling really self-conscious, self-critical. And I found yoga really beneficial for my mental health. And it's got the physical benefits too. And it was just the first class I ever went to was like it was like a drug. I mean, but with no side effects. Like I literally was hooked and it was only good. It was just like, how can something be that simple and make me feel that amazing? That it like quietened all of the noise in my head. And I was wanting to learn more and more. So I never wanted to teach yoga. I just wanted to learn more about yoga. So I kind of started on the path and I ended up having a studio, which was my dream come true. But just, really wanting to put the soul back into it. And also, I healed my back. So I can talk forever about this. Yeah, I had a bad back injury from a yoga teacher giving me an adjustment, and that really, really impacted on my life for many, many years. So I cured the pain in my body through my type of yoga.
So you wanted to share that with other people, and writing a book
Exactly.
was a way of doing that. And how long did it take you to write that first book?
It took me a year, not because it's a big book, it's actually quite a little book, but because I think I was busy running a business, busy as a single mum, and I actually wanted to write it. I couldn't make myself write it when I didn't feel like I was in the right space, because it's kind of about, the more spiritual side to life. If I was feeling like frustrated and not on that kind of page in my life, I couldn't make myself do it. So I gave myself time to kind of bring it. And it was like, I just wanted to get my thoughts out there so that people might benefit from what I've learned through all those years of yoga.
Yeah. And I'm curious to know about your process. So you wrote the first draft. Like, what did you do in that year? Like, did you have a first draft and then did you hire someone
So
or?
I got really stuck. It took me a year to complete. But yeah, I got really stuck when I needed an editor. And I'm naturally quite a shy person. So teaching yoga was always kind of like, I didn't want people to look at me, and overcame that. But with the book, they were like, yeah, just send me a piece of your work. And I was like, no. So I literally was in like hiding, and that took a few months actually. But I realized like this book is not going to get done unless I did that. And so I tried to find an editor, and I actually found one in person who lives locally to me, so that we could actually sit, have a coffee. I could talk to her, and it was really helpful. That was amazing for me.
So you were more comfortable because you were able to see that person. It wasn't just like a transaction online. You wanted to
Yeah, well,
have like that
I
relationship.
did it. It helped me because I could talk. I could kind of get all the stuff out here, and actually talk it through. And she just said to me, just send me everything and I will see if I can help you. And so I just, braved clicking send, and then got the book finished that way.
So would you recommend doing that for other authors that are starting out? Like, do you believe that's something that really helped you?
That really helped me. I suppose it depends on where you're at and what sort of book you're writing. But I think because of my book was, I'm sure for many people, it is just your own thoughts and your own tips. And it is kind of in danger of being a bit too fluffy. But she actually met with me and really helped me get it down,
Okay, so I'm very curious to know, like, if it was hard to show it to one person, one editor, were you as nervous to show it to the world? Because when you push publish, or did you self-publish through Amazon?
I did. Well, I actually, the editor I worked with actually has a printing sort of hook up with a business too. So she helped me. So I had the actual copy printed through her, and then I put it onto Amazon. But yeah, no, it was literally just finding the editor. That was the block. When I got it in my hands in person, that was like, yay, it was my Christmas present to myself. And I kind of got that deadline. I wanted the physical copy of my book in my hands for the Christmas. And I mean, it was nearly didn't happen because there was a problem at the printers and stuff, but I literally got it the day before Christmas Eve one year. So it was amazing accomplishment.
Yeah, it's always amazing to hold that first copy in your
Mm.
hand. Like, I remember the first one, but even now that I've been doing it for years, I still get that feeling when you hold the book and like you smell it. And there's something special about like having this new book into the world. And what
Yeah.
advice would you like to share with someone who's looking to write a book like you, has something to share? What advice would you give that person?
I would say make a plan, and it doesn't have to be like, I'm going to do it in the next month, but just make a plan, make a deadline. And when you have that deadline, you can kind of work back to what you need to do. And when you get stuck, find someone to help you, because sometimes we just need another person to kind of pull it out of us.
So other than that part, like what was the hardest thing about being self-published? Was it hard, like the technical, like you had someone to help you on more the technical side of it, the printing? What was the hardest thing for you?
Well, I along the way, I got help so I could learn how to do the other bits. The other, like the technical stuff, I knew I couldn't do. So I knew I needed help with that. But the hardest bit was actually like the birthing process of the book, that was just like getting it out of my head onto paper. And I quite enjoyed the writing, but the finishing of it, it was like that stalling, not quite wanting it to be done. And I actually paused for a bit because I knew that there was something else that wanted to be in it, and I didn't know what it was. So I kind of took another little piece of time before I realized actually that's got to be in it. So yeah.
And you said you got your book in your hands on Christmas Eve. Was that like the last Christmas or was it longer than that?
Christmas before.
Okay. So, and what have you been doing to promote your book and to make it known that it's available and that people can buy it? What do you do? What can you share with us? Like, what has been most effective for you? I want to hear everything.
So I managed to make it a best-selling book in the first pandemic. So we were in lockdown in the UK, and I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? My business, I had to teach it all on Zoom and pause the studio. And so I was determined what I could do was get this book to be a bestseller on Amazon. And so I just kind of studied how I could do that, reached out to some people who've already done it. And yeah, just kind of plugged away at it, tried to get people to, all the people I knew, to buy it on Amazon and recommend it and get reviews. And there's still lots more I could do with it. But I managed to get that best selling, and it felt like, yay, I've achieved something with my, lockdown. I was really proud.
Yes. And is the book part of the strategy to bring you more customers, or it was really more like you had to do it and you wanted to write a book?
So it didn't start off like that. I wanted to say my piece because actually I was getting really annoyed with teachers who wanted to come and work for me, but they didn't want to do any more training. So I taught in a specific way, which, healed my back. And I had a policy where everyone who works in my studio has to do a 5-day training with me and my teacher and learn that way. But so many of them wouldn't do it, and they'd be like showing me their certificates. And I was just really, when I learned to be a yoga teacher, I was doing courses on this and so many courses and wouldn't ever stop learning. But I was amazed that all of these people kind of stopped and thought they had it. So I decided the best way of doing this was to become an author, to say my piece, and it could hopefully educate people coming into yoga. But now it actually helps me with my coaching business, because people get to know me through reading the book and then want to work with me.
Yes. And are you working on some other writing projects, or that's it? You've like check mark, that's done. I'm a published author and that's it.
I'm not working on anything at the moment, but the work that I do now is fertility coaching and helping women with their mindset, helping business people who are kind of busy and kind of parking all of their baby dreams. And I feel like the work that I'm doing will be in a book, but not for a couple of more years yet. So I'm kind of in the process of doing the coaching and the healing and helping women with that. But I imagine that there will be another book to come. Yeah.
How can you help people with fertility? I'm very curious to hear about that.
So people think that it's all about the physical body, but actually we are not just the physical body. We have our mind, we have our emotions, we have our energy, we have our ego, we have our physical body, we have our soul. And actually, when you only focus on your physical body, you ignore all of the rest that goes on in your life. And people can start kind of getting obsessed about their hormone levels and measuring their ovulation stats and then kind of like trying so hard to create a baby. They create problems in their relationship. They get overwhelmed by doing that and figuring out work. So I just help them, not just on a mindset level, but also doing some healing. And I work within the Akashic Records, which is opening up to kind of downloads from more downloads that aren't on. So basically, I help women heal through their Akashic Records. I don't know if you know anything about the Akashic Records. I do talk about it a bit in my book.
Can you summarize it in like a sentence?
Yeah, it's kind of like a database where every thought, word, and deed is stored. And it's not obviously an online database, but it's kind of out there in the ether. And so when I work with clients one-to-one, we can open up their records so we can kind of check in with their divine team and get the downloads that they need, so that if there's a block to their pregnancy or a block to their conceiving, we can work on what it is that needs to be overcome. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, but I'm just not a very spiritual person. I'm open to hearing about it, and I'm very curious to hear more about it. But me personally, I don't know what I believe about souls and stuff like that. So it's just like, it's just like when you talk about this, I'm like, oh, how could she do that? And it's just intriguing to me.
And it's funny because I was not really looking to do this work. It was like this work kind of found me, because I was doing different trainings and training in the Akashic Records. And the reason I trained in the Akashic Records wasn't because I knew what they were and I wanted to do it. I was just kind of like, when you're just following and you're just literally like, I've got to, like, I had that feeling with my first yoga class. It just felt so good. And that's what it was like with the Akashic Records. It just felt so good to me. I was like, I got to know more. And then I ended up developing this program called the Soul Baby Program, where women can kind of connect with their baby soul and help themselves on their journey. It's pretty cool.
That's so interesting. So if people want to hear more about your book, about yoga, about fertility, where can they reach out to you and learn more about you?
So probably the best place is my website, which is emma-burton.com. And there's a bit about, I do yoga online at home now, and they can do that. I also have my Facebook page, which is, no, my Instagram is Emma Burton Fertility Coach, and then I have a Facebook page, Emma Burton. So you can find me all over the place and join.
That's so interesting. Thank you so much for sharing, and I'll make sure to have those links in the show notes. Thank you so much for being on the show, Emma.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.